All right, looking good. I was a bit confused here for a moment because Facebook yesterday forced the new layout on me, and it's a bit different and confusing to get to the video settings. So let's hope everything works fine, and we can probably do a live mapping session here. Let me know if anything seems to be seriously be going wrong. Welcome to this week's live mapping session. I'm back from my little vacation. I'm Rolf Schemmann of Fantasy Software, and I hope you enjoyed Remy Monson's video last week. I saw it afterwards and I thought it was pretty good. So I hope you are okay with me coming back and don't clamor too much for somebody else. But I'm sure we'll see some other faces in the future, and we'll see Remy again as well. Good. What do we want to do today? Today I want to start looking at Cartographer's annual issues, starting with this year's January issue. That's the Watabou City style. That way we can show off a bit how the different annuals work and get to see lots of different tools and options that the annuals highlight and introduce. What is the Watabou City style? That's basically a city drawing style, but with a twist. It takes output from an online random city generator, and with a little bit of work, it turns it into a campaign cartographer map. The Watabou City style is a very useful and impressive online generator tool that generates cities, and lots of different sizes and shapes. And I've always loved the tool, and we found out there was quite a good way to get the stuff into Campaign Cartographer. So to start off, let's see how we usually start out with an annual issue. The first thing we do is access the mapping guide that comes with each annual issue, and for that I have got the program data folder of CC3 Plus open. You can see this is my install location. This may be different if you've got it installed on your system. Usually typically it will be on the same disk as your Windows installation. For me it's on the D drive, and then it's program data and CC3 Plus. And within that folder is the annual subfolder. If I open that, you'll see all the lots of different annual issues we've produced in the past. Quite a few by now. I'll scroll down to the latest ones. See, these are from the last months, and the issue 157 is Watabou Cities. So let's open that, and in here we do have the mapping guide and several examples and other files used in the annual issue. So let's switch to my already open PDF, and this is the mapping guide for Watabou Cities. Each time you install an annual issue, it will also open this automatically. And once the year is through, we update the menus so that you can install all the PDF issues from the Campaign Cartographer menu. But in the meantime, if you're accessing this year's annual issues, you will have to go through the Windows Explorer. And we give a little introduction into the style, and then we get to the instructions how to actually use all the stuff that comes with the annual issue. And I'm showing this because I want to start out with a link to the map generator here. It's linked here with a link in the PDF, but I've already also got it open in my browser. If I can find that, that is... No, that's not the correct one. Well, let's just click on the link here again if I can find the browser among all those different windows I have open. And this is the generator for the cities. You can set different sizes, see very big cities, medium ones, small ones, You've got lots of options here. Let's just turn on some names for the cities and lots of different ways to show buildings and the map. Let's create another large city. It creates city walls, rivers, and you can just click the buttons up here again to just cycle through a different selection of city maps. And why they don't go down in every individual building, and sometimes the layout might not make much sense. It's always very easy to just generate a new version and work with that. And the clever thing is that we can export the material as a PNG file. We could of course take that and just import it into Campaign Cartographer and draw over it. But better yet, we can export to standard vector graphics SVG file type, and with a little bit of work we can convert that into a file format that Campaign Cartographer can read. So let's take a look at what the mapping guide tells us what to do. That we have to go to the next page. So the first thing we got to do, we got to find a map that for the layout we like. I'm going to do a small map just to make it a bit easier to do Campaign Cartographer map here in the tutorial, and so you can properly see stuff. And let me just cycle through a few maps. So this is already looking pretty good. We've got a river running into the sea. We've got a few districts and a bridge over the river. So I quite like this. So I'm going to stick with this. And I'm now gonna change the options to make it as easy and quick as possible to convert that into Campaign Cartographer. Let's see what the mapping guide tells us. We want to make this as simple as possible. For that, we're gonna turn off the text for the map. Style, and we don't want any city name. We do want the scale bar, and we want no landmarks and no districts labeled. We also don't want any hatching. That's going to make it difficult because it's going to create a lot of different entities in Campaign Cartographer now. And the palette is fine. We'll just use these watercolors. We're going to change that in Campaign Cartographer anyway. And here we go. That's looking good. See, there's the scale bar here. We can already take a quick look here. It's going to be useful later how large the map is. This is 100, so it's about 300 or 350 by 350 meters in size. And we are now going to export this as an SVG file. And the title the random generator hasn't given to the map through the city's Gold Marsh, which sounds quite nice, so we'll leave it. I'm just going to save the file here. Okay, we've got an SVG file, but Campaign Cartographer can't open that. If I click the open button up here on the file toolbar and see what file types I can open, I can open the Campaign Cartographer formats for templates and symbols and so on, old CC-DOS files, and AutoCAD, DWG and DXF files. And that's the trick, because there's lots of free tools out there that can convert SVG files into DXF files. So, see, we've got the section on that here in the mapping guide. And as an example, there's the cloud convert site. If I click that, it will open up the browser. And you can see this tool can convert SVG to DXF files. For that, I'm just gonna select the file from my computer. I'm gonna select the Goldmarsh file I have saved previously, and then I'm just gonna convert it. Ah, now I've done something. I've obviously just run into a limit of how many files I can convert. So I'll guess I'll have to, perhaps I can just load a different browser and see whether that works. Just a second. No, that doesn't work. So let's sign up. I'll sign up with my Google account. Okay, and now I'm gonna sign up. And I want to convert this to cat DXF. So I'm going to do a convert. And I get the option to download the new DXF file. I'm going to do just that and save this down here. And there we are, and that's everything we need to do outside of Campaign Cartographer, and we can jump back into our familiar software in a minute. Because first I want to take a look at the mapping guide, because I'm going to now need to start a new map, and that should be about the same size as the random city I've done. So that's why I was looking at this scale bar in the map earlier. Click New Map, choose the map type Cities, and look for the annual Watabou City style. I'm going with the metric version in this one. Click Next. And here I want to set a size that quite comfortably fits my city. So I'm gonna, I said it's about 350 by 350 meters, and that's the size I'm gonna use for the map. Don't need to do anything else here. I'm just click Finish, and I'm gonna name my file Goldmarsh and save that. And here we are. And now I can say Draw, Insert File from the menu. And now I need to go to my videos folder where I saved the files. And here's my DXF file. I can just double click that and see there's nothing. Well, it's very small. The DXF files are scaled to basically values between 0 and 1, and we need to rescale that so we get to our meter scale again. For that, we're just gonna place the stuff that's at our cursor, you just can't see it, at 0.0 at the origin of our coordinate system. And how to rescale this now? Now we can do right-click the scale command on the left toolbar, say non-visual scale, right-click to select by prior. That means we're selecting that which we just inserted into the map. You see we've got 213 objects selected now. Right-click into it, and now a scale factor, and as I said, this scaled from 0 to 1. The our factor should be the 350, the size of our map that we've chosen. And for the scale center, we're using the same 0.0 origin point. And there we are. There's our map. Might look a little bit strange, you can say. Well, we are gonna correct that in a little bit. First, I want to move this city a little bit more into the middle of the map. So I'm going to do move. Again, select by prior. Right click, do it. And I'm going to just choose one point here and move this into the middle of the map. Here we go. There's our files and our lines and stuff in Campaign Cartographer. Let's save the map and have a quick look at the questions. Whether Sue's got anything already for me? No, and it's not to be expected because we've not really done anything in Campaign Cartographer yet. So let's see what the mapping guide says, what we should do next. We've got the map imported. And see, this is similar to what we've seeing here in the map. And now we're going to convert this into a proper city style. And first, we need to erase some extra files that get added in the Watabou export, and which will just make it complicated for us to convert everything. And as you see, the mapping guide tells you just some shortcuts, so you don't have to figure out what to delete and what to keep, because we've already gone through all of that. So we want to erase everything that is color 42 and not fill style hollow. So let's take a look. Erase command is on the left here. This is a nice example for a combination and selection operation. So I'm going to right click and say I want to select by color. The color I wanted to choose was color 42. There we go. You see we choose the river and some lines of the buildings here. And then I right click again and say combine, but I don't want to select the fill style. Oop. Pull that over, hollow. Okay, see, that makes the river here unselected. Do it, and there we go. As you can see, or might not see, the brown lines are still there. Actually, what I'm going to do, what the mapping guide also suggests as well, to change the color of this brown to something that's more visible. So I'm going to do change color by color, and I'm going to pick up the F2 like operator, the color of this brown. So I don't need to check which color number it is. I just say I select everything that has the color of this entity. Okay, right click, do it, and select the color, and I'm going to choose a bright red for that so we can see this better. See, much more visible now. So that was the first part we wanted to remove, and the next one, the yellow rectangle that's showing the extents of the map. Exactly, we don't need that. This is this one. Gray outline around river and bridges. Let's see. Erase by color. That's the color of 245. We can just type that in. But it should not be the city walls. And see, these are really the same color. We are gonna do combine not and pick the city walls, the stuff we don't want to delete. Here we go. There's another one. This one. And we right click, do it. See, the river is still there. It's just the section underneath the river that's been deleted, and all the extra stuff we don't need is gone. Okay, finally erase all entities with the color 31. So let's do that. Erase by color 31. That removes extra entities from the fields. There we go. Okay, so we've reduced the map to the pieces we want to actually have on the map. Except we've got some lines extending beyond the map border, and we want to remove the sections that we don't want. For that we can use the trim command. Let's just click trim, select the road here, select a point just close to the map border, and it's trimmed. Same on the other side of the map. Same with the river. There we go. And this that's the sea area. That's actually a bit it's a closed entity. We can't trim that. We're gonna break a gap into that. There we go. See, we've got a little bit of the river sticking out here, but we can just trim that a little more. That's better. All right, so we've got these down to the basics. We now convert this into the proper look. Let's see what the mapping guide tells us. Change like draw tool. That's the magic command we are gonna using here. Basically, we are changing a selected entity into the same look and properties as one of the drawing tools of the style. And we're going to start with the river and water stuff on the map. And I always set the current sheet to the one I want these things to be on, because the set like drawing tool only works best if you have the sheet selected that the entities should end up on. So I'm gonna use the change like draw command as a right click option on the change properties one. See here, that's the change like draw tool. And first thing is we are gonna choose by right clicking the tool we want to change stuff into. So I'm gonna just scroll down, and we've got the water entities down here. And let's take the blue, normal blue water. Select the entities. Actually, the river doesn't really. Oh, we've got these lines here. See, let's see how this works. Not actually use this on a river running into the sea with this style. We might have to fix the bit manually there, but we'll see. Let's do it. Yes, you can see the river is actually a bit weird. So what we're gonna do is, this is obviously a closed entity. We're gonna edit it and uncheck the closed option. So this is much better, but this is converted into just this line. So what we're gonna do, we need to have a wide river. So we are gonna do the same thing again, change like draw tool. And we're gonna select the 25 meter wide river. Select this here, and there we are. It's actually, it could be a bit smaller, because this thing that Watabou created, the river mouth, is actually smaller than the 25. So let's take a look and say distance, how far it is from here to here. So it's about 15. So let's change the line width of the river, do it to 15. And see, that fits almost perfectly, except for the gap there. But we're not going to bother about this now. We can do that later. And yes, you can see the coast here, though the sea part, that's there is missing a corner here. So I'm just gonna insert a node, click on the entity, put a node down here, and there we are. It connects correctly to the map border. So that's the water done. Let's save, just to be on the safe side. And let's take a look at the mapping guide. What's up next? Next up is roads. So we're going to use this on the yellow entities. So we're going to set my sheet to roads. What does the mapping guide suggest for the drawing tool? The road dirt 10. Yeah, that's the roads outside the town. So it makes sense that they're dirt roads and not stone roads. So change like draw tool. Go to road, that's the grassy road, dirt 10, here we are. Right click by color. And there was actually a typo in the mapping guide, which I just realized. It should be color 139 and not 39, because yellows are in the 130s and 40s. So I have to fix that in the mapping guide. Mental note taken. And do it. And there's our dirt road. Very nice. Next up is the current the city blocks. So we are gonna use the city block sheet. Use change like draw tool. Choose the city block default. Select everything by the color red. And do it. And there's my city blocks. Almost looking like a map already. So then we're going to turn the field lines into furrows, so they can serve as markers for our fields. And let's do that by change like draw tool. If we go down to terrain, we've got the field furrows here. Select that by color, and I can also just use the pickup modifier, the F2, to select the color without bothering about the number, and right click, do it. And there's my field furrows in a nice dirt style. And that's basically already everything. We can convert. Oh no, we're wrong. We want the city walls as well, of course. Set the current sheet to walls. There's my walls. There are the walls. Change like draw tool. The 10-foot wide wall. Everything else would be much too much for such a small town. And select by color the dark gray here. Looks correct. Do it. And actually what the mapping guide says, and I forgot, is that we shouldn't use it on the towers, because the towers will not look right using the conversion, because they're basically not squares, they are just short and wide lines in the export from Watabou. So we have to do these differently. So let's just undo and redo this whole thing. Change like draw tool, this 10-meter wall, and let's pick the walls that we want to convert by hand. It's quickly done, it's just a few. Go. And let's turn sheet effects on. No, that's not what I did. I actually hid all sheets. Show all sheets. I want to not auto hide the sheets. I want to activate sheet effects. There we go. So we do need to draw the I see what happened. I'm just wondering why the field furrows have such long shadows. That's because I didn't change my sheets before I applied the change like draw tool command to them, and they ended up on the building sheet or someone else. So let's change that in a second, but let's do the towers first. And to make it easy, I'm actually gonna do some circular towers here because they're always quick and easy to draw. I'm using the F5 modifier to attach them to the end of the walls. So I've got the tool selected, and for the center I select F5, click on the tower, set the inner size of the tower, and do the same here. Okay, misclick. There we go. Actually, this looks kind of weird from the Watabou export that the wall extends right there into the river mouth. Let's shorten the wall a bit. There we go. It's actually 2 lines now with this. Split that at the wrong end. There we go. And now put a tower on here. See, that looks good. And the squares you see are still from the imported towers. And to hide these, I will now just hide the import sheet because I don't need it anymore. So pretty nice. I just need to move the field furrows to somewhere else. So I'm gonna right click the effects button, select move to sheet, select all my furrows as well as these here. There's another one. Zoom in to catch it, do it, and put these on the fields and furrows sheet. See, that's much better. No long shadows on the fields. So we've converted everything, and before we start adding a few things to the map to make it look nicer and to add the stuff that the Watabou City generator didn't include, let's take a look at the questions. Sue has one. Yes, can you also use the style to draw your own city from scratch? Absolutely. All the tools are in here. You can just say if you want to draw a city block like this here, you can just click the tools, choose the city block, and it will be just the same as if you had exported it from Watabou. So you can absolutely create your own city maps without any of the import stuff in this style, which is quite nice. And some people on the forums have created already very nice maps with much more detail than I can show here. Check it out if you are interested. So let's take a quick look at the mapping guide. We are done with the change like draw tool commands. City walls, completing the map. And we need some background textures. For example, usually I put in dirt background for the city because grass will be rare. So turn background the dark brown. You can just follow the walls or sometimes extend a little bit beyond the walls. That looks nice. It should go right behind the river. See, looks good. You can also add a bit of lighter touch around the roads. See whether that really looks good. I have no idea. But yes, it does look nice. Then always nice to have a little bit backgrounds on the fields. We've got our own field backgrounds for that. Here, see different fields. So I've got a wheat field. Just draw shape around the furrows. And brown one around this section. Oh, the wrong button. I wanted to go to the drawing tools. And let's do a light green one here for a garden next to that house. There we go. Then what you might want to do is add some paved roads inside the city. Especially we might want a proper bridge here. So let's see how we can do that. Let's start out by adding a default road here. Start from the gate to here. That looks quite nice, but not a proper bridge yet. I think for a bridge we have to be a bit inventive and add another sheet. Let's add a sheet roads bridge. It up. Here we go. And if you name a sheet starting the same as a roads sheet, any roads tool I'll now use will go also on the roads bridge sheet if I select that as the current one. So let's just draw this here. Oh, it didn't do that. Let's double check the roads default tool. Its properties. Ah, no, the tool does need the asterisk at the end to do that, what I described. So let's redo this. Bridge. That's better, and let's add a sheet effect to that, a little drop shadow. 10 meters is a bit much. Let's say 3 meters with a 1 meter blur radius in map units. See, we've got a drop shadow on the bridge, and perhaps add a little interior glow, inside glow, in a dark color. With just, it's almost a bit, no, 1 meter might be fine. Okay. Let's see, we've got a little outline on the bridge here. Okay, you can play around with the sheet effects to match that to what you like. I'm quite satisfied with this little bridge now for the moment. You can also modify stuff. For example, I find the black outlines on this very small town a bit too strong and too large. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to go to my city block outline sheet. Let's hide everything here else so I just see the outline. See, you guys see that's my black outlines here. If I click on one of those with the key, extract properties command, that brings up all the properties of the entity up here in the selection. As you can see, these are all 2 meters wide. So let's change line width of all of these to just 1. Show. I've shown the import sheet again. That's why the towers look weird. So that's better. The outline is not quite as hefty as previously. So what's next? What else does this The mapping guide suggests textures for the fields. That's already what we've done. And forest and trees. That's always a good thing to do. We've got our own tools for this. This style has a big tool for the for the forest. This is a fractal edge tool which you can just outline your forest with. And then we've got the tree tools. These are basically little circles. You define the size of your first tree. Well, this is a bit large perhaps. Let's redo this. Where's my tree? This is better. And then you can just plop down trees in the same size. If you overlap them, they will merge into the others, into the forest background. You can also put the occasional one within the city. Few clusters of trees. And there's our forest and trees. And this just basically only leaves labels and compass rose and stuff for the map. So let's see. We've got some pre-made title cartouches here, which I can just click on and put in the name of the map. Let's call it the Gold Marsh that Watabou suggested. But this is a bit too small on this map, so I'm gonna move this around and scale it. I can make it larger. It looks better. Put in compass rose and a scale bar. You have to remember that default scale bars are always 100 meters in size. So if I set this to 1, it will be 100 meters. Yeah, that's quite fine. Go. That's our scale bar. And we can also, if we select or extract the properties of the text here. Actually, I'm selecting not the properties of the text. That's a symbol cartouche. So we're gonna do this differently. We're gonna select the gray as the text color. The sheet is fine. And then we're just gonna put in text like this. So let's just call this the south gate down here. Very obvious name for that gate. And one up there. And this is the Gold Creek. And that way you can label your map. Perhaps on this small map I want to go in and make the outline of the text a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go in and choose the text sheet. See, this is the outer glow. And we can reduce that to 2 units and half the blur. And this is nicer. And there's my map. It's just a very small one, but you can see how you can turn a export from Watabou Cities pretty quickly in a nice Cartographer map. I see the question from even that this style doesn't use any individual buildings. No, it generally does not. It shows you can show a bit more detail into the city blocks down to a few individual buildings when you define the export or the appearance of the map. And you can of course go in and just use the city block here to draw individual buildings. Basically, that's what's been done here with the small building south of the gate. So let's just say could put in an individual building like this, but it's not generally meant for depicting cities at an individual building style. It's more for showing cities, districts, and city quarters. And a question from Curtis: how do you clean up those pointies on the city block acute angles? Yeah, that's another good question. What you can do here is you can add in another node. See whether actually I catch the correct one here. We've got to do the same with the... I think I need to zoom in a little bit more to catch the... See, that way I'll probably have to put in another node here. That way, if you put in a second node at the point of the angle, you can soften the edge. Alright, now you can go ahead and export this as a JPEG or PNG file, or start on a larger version of the map and add many more features to these maps, like some of the people done on the forum. I'll link some of those works in the video description later. But for today, I think we've done. I'm even a bit faster than I originally expected. I thought I would need the full hour or a little more for even a small town map, but no, it worked quite nice and quickly. So I hope you enjoyed this. If we're not going to do an annual each week, but it's certainly a fairly regular feature we will be doing. So if you have any suggestions for particular annuals you want to see, post them in the comments of this video or somewhere else, and we'll take it into consideration. So have a nice evening, and talk to you on in the Facebook group and in the community forum if you want to join there. See you later. Bye bye.